Let's try a real-life example of using inverse trigonometry. We use inverse trigonometric functions when we have a right triangle whose sides we know but whose angles we want to know. We use it when we want to find angles. For example, suppose a 25-foot ladder is leaning against a wall from a point 6 feet away from the base of the wall. What is the angle formed by the ladder and the ground? Okay, here we go. We have a house, that's sort of my side view house. There's the ground. It's a right angle. This is why we do trigonometric problems with houses and grounds. We've assumed that the walls of the house were built correctly, which is at right angles. Now I realize in North Adams the ground is never level, but whatever. Bang, we have a ladder going up the wall. It's a 25-foot ladder, and it's 6 feet away from the ground. So if we want to simplify this picture, we say we have a right triangle, 6 feet across the base, 25-foot diagonal. Now, if we want the third side, we can use the Pythagorean theorem for that. But what we want here, we want to know what this angle is. Well, what do we know? If we talk trigonometry, we're saying this is the adjacent side. It's touching the angle marked x. This is the opposite side. It's away from the angle marked x. And this is the hypotenuse. So what do we have? We're talking hypotenuse and area and adjacent side are the two that we have. We talk SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. And we have AH, we're talking cosine. So we say, well, we know that the cosine of x is a over h. That's what this cosine a over h formula says. And in this particular case, we know that the cosine of x is 6 over 25. Well, what is that angle? Well, hey, we uncosine both sides. We take the inverse cosine of the cosine of x, and we take the inverse cosine of 6 over 25. And hey, if cosine of x and 6 over 25 really were the same thing, then if we plug them both into this weird uncosine function, we're going to get the same thing. Inverse cosine undoes cosine, and we're left with x is the inverse cosine of 6/25. This, by the way, this step is sort of a demonstration, the sort of thing that a math professor likes to talk about, but there's no reason why a reasonable person couldn't go straight from there to there. If the cosine takes x to this, then the inverse cosine takes 6/25 back to x. And we just plug this into a calculator and we say 6 divided by 25 equals inverse cosine 76.11 degrees. X is approximately 76.11 degrees. That is the angle that this ladder makes with the ground.